Blog Talk Radio.
Everybody's crazy but me. Everybody's nutty as can be.
It's true, it's true, it's true. Everything they said about it is true. This is the Girrl, George, and the Dragons radio show. Tonight, today, whatever, this is what, Sunday? Today, we've got a singer-songwriter, surprise, surprise. Mostly everyone on this show is singer-songwriters. Guitar player from Arizona. So we got Hollister Morgan. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh, I'm just fine. I'm just hunky-dory.
That's good.
I hear you've played in San Francisco. That's why I'm in Berkeley.
Ah.
So I played in San Francisco for years.
Well, I probably heard you and don't remember because my memory's so faulty.
If you were there in 72, I was in Nashville in 72, so we might have missed each other.
Yeah, we probably did miss each other. Yeah, I sang on the street there for about a year.
What,
actually,
in 72, right?
Pardon me?
In 72?
Yep.
Where were you playing?
Well, mostly the Cannery and Girrl.
Did you know Timothy Daw? Timothy Daw at the Wine Cellar?
Yes. I mean, we weren't good friends or anything, but I'm aware of him.
Well, he used to book my the acts from his open mic on. I had a TV show back later, in about 78, for 5 years, and he used to send me all of his great acts that he had on his show, and he's played my show. I think he's a great performer. You ever seen him play? I guess you have, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't run across Chris Berry when I was there.
Chris Berry? Well, I knew Chris Berry there, too.
Yeah,
we used to hang out together. And he is Creed?
Yep. Yeah, Chris, I just met Chris, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and met a really bunch of cool people through him. He's a great guy, too. He's going to be on the CD at some point here.
Cool. You got a new CD coming out?
Yeah, I'm about a year behind schedule because we moved and a bunch of other stuff happened in my personal life, and it kind of got derailed. But we've just about got 6 of the songs in the can, and then the other 6 are kind of halfway there. But it's been a lot of fun, and I've got some awesome people playing on it.
Who you got playing on it?
Guys like Tom Hampton.
Drop a few names on me, baby.
Yeah, guys like Tom Hampton, who's played with Poco and Little Feat and a bunch of other people. He plays like 10 or 11 different instruments, and he's a really cool guy. Lauren McDonald, who plays guitar with Geo.Radio. I don't know if you're familiar with Riopel or not. He's kind of a West Coast, Arizona, Chicago guy, but he wrote a lot of songs with Stuart Margolian, and he's a really awesome musician. He was a session player for a long time too back east. And so Lori's coming in my little studio tomorrow, and she's going to do some slide guitar and some vocals and stuff. And then I've got people like Don Charles and Deb Gessner and Candace McNulty and Mary Trevor playing on it. I've been talking to Will McFarland. He's going to do some stuff. Will played for Bonnie Raitt for like 14 or 15 years, and he's a Muscle Shoals guy, and he does a lot of sessions down there. So
what kind of music do you do? What kind of music do you do? You call it rockabilly? The one I heard of that truck driver one sounded kind of rockabilly and truck driver stuff. What do you call it? Blues?
More
country?
Americana, really. I mean, because I'm more of a writer than I am anything else. I mean, I play guitar and I sing and stuff, but what I really like to do is write, and my writing is really all over the map. I mean, I've got blues stuff and rock stuff and country stuff and folk stuff, and it's hard trying to do a CD, trying to get 12 songs that belong together, just because I am so all over the map when I write. But that's what I love to do the most, is write.
Oh, you know what Timothy Dawes doing now? He's a professor, a physics professor at San Francisco City College.
A physics professor?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
he found me on the web way back when I used to run the open mic at the Starry Plow, and he showed up on my birthday. Because, you know, I'm always advertising when my birthday is, and he showed up on my birthday.
Wow.
So it was cool seeing
so
him.
What was it like working with Chris Christopherson?
Chris, I didn't work with Chris. Chris came in and seen us play at the Coffee Gallery in North Beach in 1970. Bobby Newworth, which is Bobby Dylan's road manager, knew me. And he brought Chris in to see us play at the Coffee Gallery, me and Arizona Star. And he thought we were the funniest thing he ever seen. And he drug us around to all these places in Berkeley, that was San Francisco. He drug us to the New Orleans house in Berkeley and would throw us on the stage. We didn't know who he was at the time. We'd never heard of him. But he was cute. And so he'd throw us up on the stage, and there'd be the Arn Butterfly and Nick Gravenitis and stuff. And we'd go up there and we'd break all our guitar strings. You know, my strings would break, my guitar player's strings would break. And we're just fuck-ups, you know. But he thought we were the funniest things he ever seen. And so we ended up going to Nashville and stuff, you know. But he always supported us. He brought in people to see us play at the Red Dog Saloon. He brought Joan Baez in and Jerry Jeff Walker stuff in to see us play at the Red Dog Saloon. So that was cool.
Wow,
and he was
nice.
even in the movie, they made a movie about us because Guy Clark wrote a song about us. And somebody heard the song, and they asked around about us, and everyone had these funny stories about, oh, yeah, George had a sword and used to cut everybody up. Wish I didn't. I had a sword, but I didn't cut everyone up. And so they decided to make a movie about us, and they found me here, and they came all the way from Nashville and filmed me here in Berkeley. And then they found Star was in London at the time, and they went over there and filmed her, and they made a movie about it. So there's a movie called The Continuing Adventures of Girrl, George, and the Arizona Star. It's up on YouTube.
Wow.
And Chris is in it. They interviewed Chris, and he didn't deny he knew us.
He didn't know.
He has some good stuff to say about us.
Well, Chris didn't tell me that.
Well,
oh, you mean Chris Christopherson, not Chris Berry, right?
No, I'm talking about Chris Christopherson, not Chris Berry.
Yeah.
I met Chris Berry later. I met Chris Berry in about 74, 75. I met Christopherson in 1970, and then we went to Nashville in 71, and we were there till 73, and then Shel Silverstein seen us at the Red Dog Saloon again, and he says, oh, you should be with our producers. And went with Dr. Hook's producer, which was back in San Francisco again. And he put us out on the road with Dr. Hook, and we toured with Dr. Hook. And we were playing with Chuck Berry and Stevie Wonder and Poco. We played with Poco, too. And
wow.
Kansas. You know that Almost Famous? That band in Almost Famous is about Poco. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Me and my daughter looked it up because it's a real story about that guy when he was a writer for the Rolling Stone magazine, and the very first band he wrote about, which is what the whole movie is about, is Poco. So that's who he really wrote about. And so we were there. The whole thing where he takes the acid and he jumps off the roof is in Kansas, and we played in Kansas. I think it was Topeka, Kansas, with him. So we were there.
Wow.
In fact, in the dressing room, they're even singing on the cover of the Rolling Stones. So that was kind of cool. I love that movie. Love it. Oh, we knew David Allan Coe too. You know David Allan Coe?
We've never formally met. He would be around, you know, when I was working in Nashville on Music Row. I was working for Sunbird Records, and Max D. Barnes was a really good friend of mine, Max and Patsy both. And Max Troy, Max's son. And in fact, Max called me one morning from his house that day that he saw David Allan Coe walking down the middle of the street, Music Row, and it was real foggy, and had this long black duster on. He called me to tell me how awesome it was. So,
boy, David, if you want to talk about outlaws, boy, he's a real one.
Yeah.
He's not just
real
some guy that went to
outlaw.
college and learned how to write. I mean, that boy has lived it, walked the talk and talked the walk, and been to jail and everything. We played the Tennessee State Men's Penitentiary with him and Farron Young, yeah. And that was really cool. And we had a birthday party for him. Me and Star had a birthday party for him. He said it was the first time he had ever had a birthday party. So
wow.
yes, I love David. I think he's outrageous. He writes great songs.
He does write great songs, and he kind of gets overlooked, you know.
Oh no,
I mean, Waylon,
everybody knows David Allan Coe. They may not like him because he wrote a lot of really dirty songs.
Yeah.
Look up our YouTube. Stuff is just filth. But I mean, people worship that guy. There's even a cartoon in the middle of the night on those night swim things. They had this cartoon, and this band was up there, and it had the headband DAC. You know, it was David Allan Coe in this crazy band that was in this cartoon in the middle of the night.
Wow.
No, everyone knows David.
I know everybody knows him, but he doesn't. I mean, you know, he doesn't. When people talk about the Outlaws and all that stuff, they always, you know, pick the same few guys, and they don't mention
because
David
they don't know
with
what
them.
the fuck they're talking about. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, the Outlaws is really just a album they put out. It was
That's
an
true.
album was Waylon and Willie and a couple other people, Tom Paul, I think, and Waylon's wife maybe. But I mean, it was just an album, and so then everyone, oh yes, I'm an outlaw. Oh yes, I'm an outlaw. Oh yes, I'm an outlaw. Yeah, sure. I mean, the real outlaws. I was there at that time. The real outlaws was Chris Gantry, Chris Gustafson, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Billy Joe Shaver, and David Allan Coe.
Yeah.
Everybody else is bullshit. Most of them weren't even there at the time. Oh, Zach Van Arsdale, too. You ever know Zach? He's still there.
Well, Waylon and Jesse used to have
the Outlaws were. Everyone else got there like in 1979 when it wasn't even happening anymore. Oh, yeah, I'm an outlaw. Yes,
yeah.
Sure. But it just means that they did things their way.
Yeah. Well, Waylon and Jesse used to have a house
outlaws.
here.
I mean, the hippies were outlaws, and the beatniks were outlaws, and the pirates were outlaws, and you know, it's all the same thing. You just get a new name, the punks. I mean, it just means that you're doing it your way, and fuck if you don't like it.
Yes, right.
So, have you toured?
Do you say that again?
Have you toured?
No, a little bit. I was invited to go to Europe, and I didn't get to go because I couldn't get my passport fast enough. I had to be there like in a week or something like that, and I had not paid my taxes yet that year. So, but I was going to go. It was a tour. It was sponsored by West Cigarettes when I did this album that I produced called "Song of the American Trucker," and so I was going to go over there with some of the guys that were on that album, and a different album that we released in Europe with some of the same guys, and Bobby Bear and a bunch of other people. And so, you know, I missed my shot at doing that. And I used to play out all the time. I don't anymore just because I don't have time and I'm, you know, busy doing other things. But Chris and I might start playing together a little bit here. So he's got a really cool band.
When were you in Nashville?
In the 80s. So
80,
81, 82, and then again in 84 twice. But when I was in Nashville, I was working with some good records. Yeah.
I left in 73 and never came back. Came back to the Bay Area where I belong. But then I went to L.A. I went to L.A. in about 83. I stayed there for about 12 years. That was interesting.
Well, yeah, I'm not a big fan of L.A. I love San Francisco, but I like the beach and stuff in L.A. and some things about Southern California, but you know, L.A. is a place to live. I mean, I've done it a couple of times, lived there, but I'm not a fan.
It's way too hot. But they made me start writing. Well, I ended up in the punk club, and if they didn't like you there, they threw cups at you. So you better be right on the money and have new songs for them every week, or they'd throw shit at you.
Yeah, it hurts.
Well, they never threw it at me because I always produced. I was their favorite, so I never had no problem. But everyone else did. They threw cups at them. They threw chicken bones. One night, these chicken bones were up there. They had been eating Kentucky Fried Chicken or something and threw the bones.
There's still bars in Arizona where they have cages for the bands. Country bands, country bars, because people get so rowdy. Pretty weird. So
well,
I was never in a band. Huh?
It was instigated.
Yeah.
I mean, if the owner didn't allow it, it wouldn't happen.
Right. Yeah, well, when you build a cage around the band, you just kind of ask them for it, right?
Yep. If you just threw them out, then it wouldn't happen again. But, well, that made it very interesting, and it kept you on your toes, and it made me write new songs every week. So I wrote some of my best songs there. I write it for them, about them. And they just want it fast and current and get to the point.
Don't Boris get to the chorus, as Dave Girrl says. Huh?
Punk is, like right in your face. There's no subtlety to it. You go singing a folk song and be subtle there, they throw shit at you.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
Oh, I got the owner of that club is going to be on again next week. The Owl's Bar in L.A. There was a big punk club in L.A.
I'll have to catch that show.
Yeah. So what are you doing now, besides you just recording?
Mainly I'm just working on my CD, trying to get it done. I've got a little studio at home, and I do some tracks there, and then I do the rest of them at... got a buddy who's a really good guitar player and singer, and he's a great engineer, one of the best set of ears I've ever heard, and so I do a lot of stuff over at his place. It's called Geo.Radio. It's here in Prescott. He's really a great guy. So, and
where are you from originally? Where are you from originally?
Well, actually, I was born in Wisconsin, in Appleton, because there was no. My grandparents lived in Needham and Asha, and there was no hospital there, so I was born in Appleton. And then I was kind of raised all over the country. My dad was in radio, and he was a program director and DJ. Yeah, he hated rock and roll, though. I remember him. He would get rock stuff in the 45 sent to him, and I remember he used to use them for clay pigeons. We were
what do you like, country or classical?
No, he liked jazz. He was really into jazz.
Oh, jazz.
That's what his favorite was.
They can be pretty stuck up sometimes.
Oh yeah, he was a real snob about his music, But he was really good. I mean, he did like some sort of country stuff. He was a Johnny Cash fan and things like that. But we moved a lot because back in the day then, whenever it came time to give everybody a raise at the station, or if the ratings fell, they would just fire everybody, the whole crew. So we would move around the country, and sometimes it was the same guys from the last radio station. So, I lived in Albuquerque twice, in Denver and El Paso, and my brother was actually born in Alameda, my younger brother.
So was I.
So we were in California. Were you?
I was born in Alameda, too.
Wow. So that's where my younger brother was born. And we lived in L.A., and we lived in San Diego, and we lived in Phoenix, and we lived in Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, and Des Moines, Iowa. I mean, we were always on the move. And then he got into television, and he was an anchor, Channel 10 News in Phoenix. And he was the co-anchor on the 6 o'clock news and the anchor on the 10 o'clock news for 12, 13 years. So that was interesting.
So how did you pick up the guitar?
I don't really remember. Actually, I wanted to play piano, but my parents couldn't afford a piano, and they couldn't afford piano lessons, and so I think eventually they got me a guitar when I was like 15 years old or so. And I spent all my time then, when I was in high school, hanging out at this club called the Shrunken Head in Phoenix, which was a folk club. and got to meet a lot of interesting people. And there was this black kid I hung around with who was probably 8 years older than I was, and his sister was a belly dancer in L.A., and she was dating Hoyt Axton, or Hoyt was dating her, so we'd go over there all the time and drive around with Hoyt and hang out with him. And he had a little Sunbeam Tiger, and we'd drive around the Hollywood Hills and stuff. It was cool. Had a lot of fun. So anyway, I started playing guitar, and so I actually started trying to write songs, immediately. The black guy I hung around with, Henry, he was a masterful guitar player. I remember when Rubber Soul came out, we went to the record store, bought it. He sat down and he played it once, and he could play every part on it. But he hated trying to teach me anything because he obviously had no patience because it was so good, So I limped along for years and picked it up and put it down, picked it up and put it down, So it's like Waylon, I kind of grew up around him, too, because he actually was bussing tables at Green Gables, that restaurant in Phoenix, and right next door was a Shell station, and it was called Max of Switzerland, and this guy had the only Rolls-Royce dealership in the state of Arizona out of this gas station. Well, he and my dad were friends, and it was right across the street, and then pretty soon, Waylon started getting more famous, and then he was playing at Mr. Lucky's all the time, and then he owned the club after that. And then I lived next door. Was that
before he played with Buddy Holly or afterwards?
God, that I couldn't tell you because I was
Buddy Holly was in the 50s. Buddy Holly was in the 50s.
Yeah. Well, no, it must have been afterward because he was still working there. I mean, and playing at the club while he was working there at Green Gables. So.
Yeah, I think he played bass with Buddy Holly after Buddy got rid of the crickets. He was supposed to be on that airplane that crashed.
I know, he was really lucky that he wasn't.
Somebody switched off with him and because they were sick and they died and he didn't. But it took him another 20 years to get famous.
Oh yeah, at least 20 years. Even when he was playing Mr. Lucky's all the time, he was a huge draw in Phoenix, but he was pretty much unknown outside of there, And I can't remember what the tipping point was for him, but he and Jesse Coulter had a house up here, and Jesse used to have a little pie shop. But I remember when I was working in Nashville, I remember Max calling me one day, and he said, Waylon just called me. He's in a phone booth downtown, and he's puking his guts out because he just found out his manager had cleaned him out financially. So Waylon, even then he had to start all over. And that's such a common story in this business,
Yeah, you get ripped off everywhere you go. The ones that do make money get ripped off for it. Or they blow it on drugs, or they OD on drugs. It's a very risky business. Sometimes it might be better if you didn't get famous.
Yeah, well, I would think so, I never really cared about being famous. I just wanted to share my work, and because my dad was so well known in Phoenix when we were growing up, we were always getting introduced as, well, these are Hogan Smith's kids. That was his professional name, and it sucked. I mean, you couldn't go to Circle K, you can't go anywhere, without people making a fuss. And I feel so sorry for people who are really famous because it's just got to be hell,
Yeah, that will get to be a pain in the ass after a while.
Yeah.
If you can't walk in a grocery store or, go get a beer or something without 50 people hanging on you that don't know you, that think you owe them your time.
Right.
Well, you have to acknowledge me. You're famous, so you got to acknowledge me to make me special. Fuck you. You were to see me, go see my show, and I'll do my show for you. I don't owe you my whole fucking life. My goodness.
Yeah. So the way I got to San Francisco was I'd moved to Prescott by that time, and I was working in the newspaper business. I was a reporter and a photographer for a couple of papers up here. But I was doing a little theater on the weekends, and but in terms of singing in public, I was just terrified of it. And I knew people sung on the streets in San Francisco and actually made a living at it. And so I took, a bag full of clothes and my guitar, and I thought, well, I'm either going to do this or I'm going to starve to death. And I did it primarily just to get over my stage fright. I mean, acting, you're in a character, so you're hidden. You're not exposed like you are, as a musician. So, and I loved it so much.
So you act and you produce and you play and everything?
Yeah, I do.
What have you produced? What have you produced? We got 4 minutes left. Talk fast.
We got 4 minutes left. Talk fast. Well, mainly my own stuff. Like I did Song of the American Trucker. I did 2 albums for Interchord. I did a package album for KTEL that I did. And then most of the stuff I've produced has all been my own. So, but I worked in film and TV too. I had a video production company for about 20 years. And we still do a little bit of video. That Cadillac Angels video is one that we did in the fire, and
I like
we've done
that
some
one.
videos for Chris. Yeah, I think those are really good, and they're great songs. Cadillac Angels, they played on the CD too. I think they did 5 different cuts. I'm only going to use one of them, I think.
So you've acted too in what, movies or plays or what?
A lot of plays. I mean, a lot of live theater, and then the only movie I did a lot of commercials and stuff like that, but the only movies that I ever acted in, I was in a rubber Indian suit. I was in Creepshow 2. We couldn't get the mine back. I was actually the location manager, so they put me in the suit, and I had in there in a couple of little scenes. But the first film I did, I worked on Billy Jack with Tom Laughlin and Dolores Taylor. I got on that in pre-production and worked until the very end, and then done some other little films in between. So,
what did you do on that one?
Well, Tom, for Tom Laughlin, for Billy Jack, eventually I wound up doing still photography, but I was like the transportation captain for most of the movie after they fired the transportation captain they had. But they hired me originally because I had a Land Cruiser, and they had to get to all these remote locations, so I was ferrying the film crew and the gear around. But we started in pre-production, so we drove all the grip trucks and all the cameras and all the stuff out here. So we were hanging out at their house in Pacific Palisades for a couple of weeks at a time while we got the equipment and gear together and brought it out here.
What town are you in Phoenix?
I'm in Prescott, in Arizona. It's up in the mountains. It's about like 5,200 feet. Yeah.
Okay, so anybody that wants to see you play, just look for you around there if you're playing anywhere. Hollister, Morgan, or look for your albums, or you've got a Facebook site and everything?
Yep, and my stuff is available on CD Baby and Amazon and iTunes and all that stuff too. Up on YouTube? Not much on YouTube yet, but we're working on it. We're gonna do 4 videos for the 4 my favorite songs off this new CD, which is called Foot on the Floor. Well, this show will be up on YouTube as soon as I get some pictures from you. I put pictures on it, and then they're all up on YouTube. Okay, that sounds great. So it's kind of a little documentary about you. That would be cool. My first one. Yeah. Well, there'll be more. Yep. I'd like to thank you for coming to be on my show today. And well, I'd like to thank you for having me. Yeah. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you. This is the Girrl, George, and the Dragons radio show saying, see you later, alligator.
Everybody's crazy but me. Everybody's nutty as can be. Forming games, waging wars, paint the names upon the door. You against me, us versus them. No communicado, don't give a damn. Our kids in the street are the gross casualties now. Everybody's crazy but me.
me.